Welcome to the Unshackled Life Podcast. Real talk about faith, freedom, and following Jesus. I'm Dalen Woodard, and I'm glad you're here. Whether you've been walking with Jesus for years or you're just trying to figure out what's real in a noisy world, this space is for honest conversation, raw reflection, and truth that sets us free. Let's get into today's episode. Good morning. This is a day that we honor women and particularly mothers, most of all, I hope, our own, understanding that there's no such thing as a perfect mother. But that honor is something that God has commanded us to give. And a lot of people look at Scripture and they try to say that God doesn't care about women or doesn't care as much about women or God devalues women. And actually, it's completely the opposite. God created everything, this whole universe, including Adam, and said it was good. But he never said it was very good until Eve showed up. When he wrapped himself in flesh to become one of us, he tied himself biologically, materially, to humanity through a woman, while making the miracle being that the man was completely eliminated from the picture. Over and over again in Scripture, we are shown that true nature of God and love for God in what is called good religion or following God is how we treat our children and the women who are not able to be cared for by others. Women, children, orphans, and widows. There are lots of examples where even in the Old Testament, things like, she can marry whom she chooses. You understand how radical that was at the time, that a woman could choose her husband, which means she had a right to say no? That's a culture that was different then and it's different now. God himself would describe, even in the Old Testament, multiple times when he would be trying to express his heart for his people, for his children, for the nation of Israel, for humanity in general, would at times use metaphors that gave him the attributes of not just a woman, but a mother. And it wasn't some sort of weird 2020s gender dysphoria on God's part. It was understanding that there's something special about how a mother reflects the nature of God towards her children, that when God wanted to describe how he feels, the closest earthly example he could give was that of a mother protecting her child or loving her child or whatever. God honors. And Jesus himself did this when he said, Jerusalem, I would spread my wings like a mother hen and comfort you and gather you to me, but you would not come. And then he did just what he said. Like a mother hen, like a brother sacrificing himself for a friend. He spread out his wings or his arms, or he allowed them to be spread out. And he was pierced through the closest person being able to feel it with him. Scripture tells us was his mother, whose heart was pierced as his hands and feet were pierced. And he bled and died, giving himself for us. And Eve's second son, Adam's son, Abel, was a righteous man before God who was killed unrighteously, the first to die an unrighteous death on this planet. And his blood cried out to God for justice. And now Jesus' blood is flowing down from that cross and hitting the ground, and his blood cries out, justice is paid. And his blood cries out, come. Come. Be drawn under the shelter of his wings. Let him comfort you. Let him protect you. Let him give you life. And you say, okay, I've already done that. I've already made that decision. I've already put my faith and trust. Yes, but don't be the chick that's running off in the yard. Get up underneath there. Get in close. Get in close. He said, even if your mother forsakes you. Because some of us didn't have perfect mothers. Some of us had good mothers. Some of us didn't. He said, even if they messed up, I'm gonna be here. So get in close. Get in close to him. Because of what he did on the cross, we can come to the God who loves us and treasures us and values us enough to die for us and give us life and relationship with him. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Unshackled Life podcast. If it encouraged, blessed, or challenged you, consider following the podcast and sharing it with someone you feel it might bless or help. Be blessed, and remember, when you fix your thoughts on God and build your thinking on the foundation of his truth, God fixes your thoughts.